26th lesson. The best answer to anger is silence. This lesson reminds us that anger, whether it comes from within us or from someone else, is best met with calm and restraint. Anger often seeks to provoke a reaction, but by responding with silence, we deny it the fuel it needs to grow. Silence is not weakness, it's strength. It creates space for reflection and de-escalation. In moments of anger, words spoken hastily or harshly can cause harm that's difficult to undo. By staying silent, we prevent ourselves from saying or doing something we might regret. Silence is a powerful tool for preserving peace. When confronted with someone else's anger, silence can also disarm them, instead of feeding into their emotions with retaliation. Silence provides a pause that can shift the energy of the interaction. It communicates self-control and wisdom, showing that we refuse to be dragged into negativity. This doesn't mean suppressing our feelings or avoiding important conversations. It means choosing the right moment and the right words. Once anger has passed, to address the issue constructively. Silence in the heat of the moment allows us to maintain clarity and act with intention rather than impulse. In a world where anger often dominates, let this lesson remind us of the quiet power of silence. It's a simple but profound way to maintain dignity, composure, and peace. 27th lesson. Give thyself leisure to learn some good thing, and cease roving and wandering to and fro. This lesson encourages us to slow down and focus on meaningful growth, rather than endlessly searching for external distractions or fleeting pleasures. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the constant movement of life, whether it's through busy schedules, social media, or the pursuit of material things. But true fulfillment comes when we take time to learn and develop ourselves in ways that add lasting value. Leisure for learning doesn't mean idleness. It means dedicating time to nurturing our minds and souls. It's about finding the stillness to reflect, to absorb wisdom, and to grow in understanding. Rather than wandering aimlessly from one activity to the next, we should invest in learning something meaningful, whether it's a new skill, a deeper understanding of the world, or a cultivation of virtue. By giving ourselves the gift of focused learning, we create a foundation for lasting progress and satisfaction. Every moment spent learning is an investment in ourselves. It adds depth to our lives and helps us align our actions with our higher values. Let this lesson serve as a reminder to break free from the distractions that lead us nowhere. Instead, prioritize the pursuit of wisdom, knowledge, and personal growth, and in doing so, enrich your life in ways that truly matter. 28th lesson. Because a thing seems difficult for you, do not think it impossible. This lesson speaks to the importance of perseverance and perspective when facing challenges. It's easy to look at a difficult task or goal and immediately convince ourselves that it's beyond our reach, especially when it seems overwhelming. But just because something is hard doesn't mean it is impossible. Often, the most rewarding accomplishments come from those things that initially appear daunting. The difficulty we feel is simply a sign that growth, learning, and effort are required. It's natural to encounter obstacles along the way, but with determination and resilience, even the hardest challenges can be overcome. Difficulty is not the same as impossibility. The key is not to let the difficulty discourage us. Instead, we must break down the challenge into smaller, manageable steps. Focus on progress rather than perfection, and trust in our ability to grow through adversity. Every difficult task is an opportunity to strengthen our skills, build resilience, and expand our capabilities. Remember, many of the greatest achievements in history were once thought to be impossible. What others might have deemed unachievable was made possible by those who refused to give up simply because something seemed difficult. Let this lesson remind us, just because something is hard doesn't mean it's out of reach. Embrace the challenge, and you might just discover your own hidden strength. 29th lesson. You have been formed of 3 parts: body, breath, and mind. Of these, the first 2 are yours insofar as they are only in your care. The third alone is truly yours. This lesson offers a profound understanding of the nature of our existence. It reminds us that while our body and breath are integral parts of us, they are ultimately transient and subject to change. Our body is temporary. It ages, it gets sick, and eventually, it will fade. The breath, too, is fleeting. Each inhalation and exhalation is momentary, a constant cycle over which we have limited control. However, the mind, our thoughts, our will, and our consciousness is the one true part of ourselves that is entirely within our domain. Our mind is where our freedom resides. It is the source of our choices, our beliefs, and our inner peace. The mind is not bound by external circumstances or the limitations of the body and breath. True ownership lies in the mind. This realization calls us to take responsibility for our thoughts and actions, to cultivate wisdom and virtue, and to recognize the power of the mind to shape our experience of life. The body and breath may be beyond our control in many ways, but the mind is where we can find true freedom. By nurturing and mastering the mind, we align ourselves with our highest purpose. No matter what happens to the body or breath, the mind remains our true and unshakable possession. 30th lesson. Don't return to philosophy as a taskmaster, but as patients seek out relief in a treatment of sore eyes, or a dressing for a burn, or from an ointment. Regarding it this way, you'll obey reason without putting it on display, and rest easy in its care. This lesson encourages us to approach philosophy not as a rigid set of rules or burdensome tasks, but as a source of healing and guidance for the soul. Just as a patient seeks out relief from physical ailments, we should turn to philosophy for the peace and clarity it can offer in times of confusion or distress. Philosophy, when understood correctly, should not feel like a chore or a demand placed upon us. It's meant to provide us with practical wisdom, something we can turn to in moments of struggle or uncertainty. Much like applying ointment to a burn or soothing sore eyes, philosophy can offer relief, helping us navigate life's challenges with reason and composure. Philosophy is a tool for healing, not for display. By adopting this mindset, we can free ourselves from the pressure of trying to live up to an idealized image of philosophical perfection. Instead, we can use philosophy as a personal guide, one that nurtures us and helps us grow. There is no need to flaunt our understanding or impose it on others. The true value of philosophy lies in its quiet application to our own lives, in the way it helps us live with greater peace, virtue, and understanding. Let this lesson remind us, philosophy is not a burden to bear, but a balm for the soul, a gentle guide that leads us toward living with reason, balance, and calm. 31st lesson. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. This lesson encourages us to focus on the present moment rather than worrying about what lies ahead. It's natural to feel anxious about the future, especially when we face uncertainty or challenges. But worrying about what might happen is ultimately unproductive. The future is shaped by the choices we make today, and by using reason, just as we do now, we are equipped to handle whatever comes our way. The key message here is that the tools we need to face the future are already within us. The same reasoning and wisdom that guide us through today's problems will be just as effective when we encounter challenges tomorrow. There's no need to fear or overthink what we cannot control. Instead, we should trust in our ability to adapt, think critically, and act wisely when the time comes. Today's strength is tomorrow's solution. When we face challenges in the present with reason and clarity, we are preparing ourselves for the future, even if we don't know what it holds. Rather than being disturbed by what we cannot foresee, we can find comfort in knowing that we are capable of facing it with the tools we already possess. Let this lesson serve as a reminder to live in the present, embrace the challenges of today with reason, and trust that the future will be met with the same wisdom that we cultivate now. 32nd lesson. The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. Because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks. This lesson compares life to wrestling rather than dancing, highlighting the need for resilience and preparedness. While dancing is graceful and controlled, life often presents us with unexpected challenges that require strength, adaptability, and endurance. Just like in wrestling, we must be ready to face setbacks, difficulties, and moments of conflict. Life is unpredictable, and we can't always anticipate what will come next. In wrestling, opponents often strike when you least expect it, and victory depends on your ability to stay grounded, respond swiftly, and maintain your balance. Similarly, in life, challenges can emerge suddenly, whether they come in the form of personal loss, unexpected obstacles, or emotional turbulence. The key to navigating these moments is not to avoid them, but to prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally to face them head-on. Resilience is the key to surviving life's challenges. Living an artful life doesn't mean avoiding conflict or always being in control. It means developing the ability to handle adversity with strength, patience, and grace. We must cultivate the mental and emotional resilience to face life's trials, knowing that even when we are knocked down, we have the strength to rise again. This lesson reminds us that life requires preparation, adaptability, and the inner strength to meet challenges as they come. Like a wrestler, we must be ready for the unexpected and stand firm when faced with adversity. 33rd lesson. No random actions, none not based on underlying principles. This lesson emphasizes the importance of living intentionally, with every action guided by thoughtful reasoning and a solid foundation of principles. In life, it's easy to get caught up in impulsive behaviors or to act without considering the bigger picture. However, when we act randomly or without purpose, we risk losing direction and drifting through life rather than living with intention and clarity. Every action we take should be aligned with our core values and the principles we believe in. Whether it's a small decision or a major life choice, we must ensure that it is based on something meaningful, on the understanding of what is truly important to us and to those around us. Acting with purpose allows us to navigate life's challenges with greater focus and integrity, knowing that each step we take brings us closer to our true goals. Principles ground us and give direction to our actions. By grounding our actions in solid principles, whether they be honesty, kindness, fairness, or resilience, we ensure that we are not merely reacting to life's circumstances, but actively shaping our lives in a way that reflects our deepest values. This approach brings clarity and consistency to our lives, enabling us to handle difficult situations with wisdom and to lead with authenticity. Let this lesson serve as a reminder to evaluate every action, word, and decision through the lens of our core beliefs. When we live according to principles, we bring meaning and purpose to everything we do. 34th lesson. Keep a list before your mind of those who burned with anger and resentment about something, of even the most renowned for success, misfortune, evil deeds, or any special distinction. Then ask yourself, how did that work out? Smoke and dust, the stuff of simple myth trying to be legend. This lesson encourages us to reflect on the transient nature of anger, resentment, and the pursuit of external recognition. History is filled with individuals who, at one point, were consumed by anger or driven by a desire for fame, success, or revenge. Yet, when we look back on their stories, we often see that these emotions and ambitions lead to little more than frustration and bitterness, or, at best, fleeting success. Whether someone was renowned for their achievements or their wrongdoings, the lasting impact of their anger or ambitions is often minimal. In the grand scheme of life, the things that once seemed so important, the grudges held, the desires for recognition, often fade away like smoke or dust, leaving little trace behind. Anger and resentment are temporary. True wisdom is timeless. This realization calls us to let go of petty grievances and to question the value of seeking glory or revenge. Instead of burning with negative emotions, we can choose to live with clarity and peace. In the end, the things that matter most are not the fleeting moments of anger or the external honors we receive, but the way we live with integrity and wisdom. Let this lesson remind us that those consumed by anger or the quest for fame eventually become stories of the past, like smoke or dust. It is the quiet and steady pursuit of virtue and wisdom that endures. 35th lesson. Whenever someone has done wrong by you, immediately consider what notion of good or evil they had in doing it. For when you see that, you'll feel compassion instead of astonishment or rage. This lesson teaches us to approach wrongdoing, not with anger or surprise, but with understanding and compassion. It's easy to feel hurt or enraged when someone wrongs us, but often, the actions of others are driven by their own distorted perceptions of right and wrong. Their behavior may stem from their own fears, insecurities, or ignorance, rather than malice toward us personally. By considering the intentions or beliefs that led someone to act in a harmful way, we can shift our perspective. Instead of focusing on the injustice of the action, we can understand that the person may have been guided by their own misguided sense of good. This shift allows us to see the situation more clearly, without being clouded by our own emotional reactions. Compassion replaces rage with understanding. When we view the wrongdoer through the lens of empathy, we can cultivate compassion rather than anger. This doesn't mean excusing their behavior, but rather recognizing that their actions are a reflection of their own struggles. Compassion allows us to respond with grace and wisdom, avoiding the destructive cycle of resentment and anger. Let this lesson serve as a reminder to pause before reacting to wrongdoing. By considering the underlying beliefs or circumstances that led to someone's actions, we can replace our anger with understanding and respond with greater wisdom and kindness. 36th lesson. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. This lesson is a powerful reminder that much of the harm we experience is not necessarily in the event itself, but in how we choose to interpret and respond to it. While we cannot always control what happens to us, we have the power to choose how we react to it. Harm, in many ways, is not an objective reality, but a subjective experience. It's shaped by our own perceptions and emotional responses. When we decide not to internalize the actions of others or the difficulties we face, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. The key here is not to deny our feelings or suppress our emotions, but to recognize that we have the power to shape our reactions. If we refuse to let an action or an event define us or cause us harm, then, in essence, we haven't been harmed at all. Emotional freedom lies in our response. This mindset allows us to reclaim our inner peace and avoid becoming victims of external circumstances. By taking ownership of our emotional responses, we protect our well-being and maintain our sense of dignity. We are no longer at the mercy of what others do or say. Instead, we are empowered to choose how we feel and respond. Let this lesson remind us that harm is often a choice. Our choice to accept or reject how we interpret events. By choosing not to be harmed, we preserve our peace, our clarity, and our strength. 37th lesson. Stay calm and serene regardless of what life throws at you. This lesson encourages us to maintain inner peace in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Life is unpredictable, and no one is exempt from hardship or adversity. Whether we encounter personal loss, failure, unexpected change, or even conflict with others, it's easy to become overwhelmed by emotions. However, the true strength lies in how we choose to respond to these events. Staying calm and serene doesn't mean avoiding or suppressing our emotions. It means acknowledging them without letting them control us. When we maintain composure, we are better equipped to make thoughtful decisions, to act with wisdom, and to remain connected to our values, even in difficult times. Serenity in the storm. Cultivating this calmness is not about being indifferent to the circumstances, but about mastering our internal response to them. When we stay calm, we prevent external events from disturbing our inner peace. It's like standing firm against a storm. Though the wind may howl and the rain may pour, we remain grounded, clear-headed, and steady. This lesson reminds us that peace is not found in avoiding challenges, but in responding to them with a serene and composed mind. When we practice staying calm amidst the chaos, we build resilience and strength, allowing us to navigate even the most difficult moments with grace. 38th lesson. Kindness is invincible, but only when it's sincere, with no hypocrisy or faking. For what can even the most malicious person do if you keep showing kindness and, if given the chance, you gently point out where they went wrong, right as they are trying to harm you? This lesson highlights the immense power of genuine kindness, especially when it is unshaken by negativity or malice. It teaches us that real kindness is not a passive or weak response, but an active, courageous choice to remain good-hearted and authentic, even in the face of hostility. The key to this is sincerity. Kindness is most powerful when it is genuine and not motivated by ulterior motives or the expectation of return. When we remain kind and composed, especially in challenging situations, we disarm the negativity around us. If someone tries to harm us with their words or actions, responding with true kindness can often leave them confused or disarmed. It's difficult for malice to persist in the presence of a steady, unwavering kindness, and often, such a response can make the aggressor reflect on their actions. True kindness breaks the cycle of hostility. Moreover, when the opportunity arises, pointing out the wrongness of someone's behavior in a calm and compassionate manner can provide them with a chance for growth, without further escalating the conflict. By offering kindness and guidance, we not only protect our own peace, but might even inspire change in others. This lesson teaches us that kindness, when it comes from a place of sincerity, is not only powerful, but invincible. It can withstand the harshest of circumstances and even transform the very situations that are meant to harm us. 39th lesson. How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only at what he does himself, to make it just and holy. This lesson encourages us to focus on our own actions and inner integrity, rather than being preoccupied with what others are doing, saying, or thinking. In a world full of distractions and external influences, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: our own character and our ability to live according to our values. When we spend too much time worrying about others, whether it's their opinions, behaviors, or judgments, we waste precious energy that could be better spent on our own growth and well-being. The more we look outwardly, the more we allow external factors to influence our peace of mind and our actions. But when we focus on doing what is just and holy within ourselves, we gain not only clarity, but also a sense of fulfillment and control over our lives. Time is our most valuable resource. By keeping our attention on what we can control, our own choices, actions, and intentions, we are able to make better decisions and live more authentically. This focus leads to greater peace, as we are no longer concerned with comparing ourselves to others or seeking approval. Instead, we measure our success by the alignment of our actions with our principles and values. This lesson teaches us that by turning our attention inward and focusing on what we can do to improve and act justly, we gain time and energy to build a more meaningful, righteous life.